My name is John Lynch. For those of you who don't know me, I've recently started writing, so a lot of you may not know who I am. I have two published pieces so far, both with Cemetery Gates Media. One in Campfire and Macabre, their flash fiction anthology from last year, and one called Noose in Paranormal Contact, which is what I'm going to be reading to you guys from today. But first, before I do that, I would like to thank Sadie Hartman for allowing me the opportunity to take part in this event. It's a great honor for me. There are a lot of names on here that, you look at them and you're just like, how am I doing an event that these awesome writers are in? So I'm really honored and flattered to be able to get a chance to read my story for you guys. If you guys like my story, I am working on a collection right now. I anticipate that to be out sometime towards the end of the year, maybe November. I'm not exactly sure yet. I'm still working on it. That's going to be called Woe to Those Who Dwell on Earth, so I hope you guys look forward to that. Again, this one is called Noose. It's from the latest Cemetery Gates Media anthology, Paranormal Contact, which you can buy now at bookstores, Amazon, wherever you buy books at, they have it. Hope you guys like it. Dear Chuck, first off, let me apologize in advance. As a coworker and a friend, what I'm going to leave you with is wrong. I don't know how to start something like this, and I don't know if it's possible to prove or disprove if what I'm experiencing is real or not. All I can do is leave you with what I understand to be the truth. For that, we start with the breakdown of my marriage. I had stormed out the front door of my home for the last time, slamming it closed hard enough that the latch failed to catch. The door rattled the frame and swung open. I didn't stop, couldn't make myself look back. It wouldn't have mattered. Nobody followed me. Nobody bothered to stop me. I hopped into my Toyota Tacoma and pushed the ignition start button. What a waste of money. I spent $6,000 more for a higher trim level, all because I wanted to push the start button. I learned then that life is nothing more than a sequence of horrible decisions strung together. Well, my life anyway. Decisions like marrying a Tinder date within a year of meeting. Decisions made with the head between my legs rather than the one attached to my neck. One day, I was holding my baby, living the American dream, and the next I was walking out the door of my home, knowing that in a few hours, someone else would walk in that same door. With the push of a button, my truck's engine roared to life. The cold air intake and aftermarket exhaust had given it an unmistakable growl. Something stunk like shit. I rolled the windows down and picked up my phone. Using my one free hand, I had scrolled through my music library looking for the perfect soundtrack to frame my anger. I selected the new As I Lay Dying album and turned the volume up. The guitar riffs assaulted my eardrums. I inhaled deep and let the cool night air fill my lungs. I shifted the transmission in the drive and pressed the pedal to the floor. The tires squealed and the truck shot forward, leaving a trail of rubber and smoke in its wake. After a few brief minutes, I eased on the gas and emerged on the I-95. Driving north with no destination in mind, I brought the truck to a felonious speed. The white lines of the highway registered as nothing more than a blur on the asphalt. A speeding ticket was the least of my worries. As much as I would feel like a piece of shit if it came to it, I wouldn't hesitate to ask for professional courtesy. Sometimes pulling the correctional officer card worked. Other times, it was a surefire way to get your ass thrown in the back of a car. Was it wrong to ask for that courtesy? Yup. Did I care? Nope. I kept driving until my heart rate had returned normal and the throbbing in my temple subsided. A profound sadness replaced the anger I felt. I was all over the place emotionally, and I had every reason to be. It's not every day you find out your wife was having her cake and eating it too. I wanted to work it out, but she wanted space to clear her head. When I refused to leave the house, she told me if I didn't, she would take my son and go elsewhere. I didn't want my baby to have to leave the home that he knew, so I agreed to stay with my father for the time being. I was hopeful the time apart would allow us to gather our thoughts so we could work things out. It turns out the root of the problem was that she didn't love me anymore. She told me so herself, right before she told me the same guy she cheated with was now staying over at the house a few nights a week. After a single day of separation, he had started staying at the house. Talk about the straw that broke the camel's back. My wife was no longer my wife, as far as I was concerned. Even if she came to me later with a change of heart, I was no longer willing to hash things out. My wife's infidelity had consumed my focus. I stopped paying attention to my surroundings until I noticed the stench of human excrement. Despite the open windows, the funk had somehow gotten worse. It was coming from inside the cab of my truck. I was an emotional wreck, sure, but I felt like it would have been difficult to shit myself and not realize it. I turned my head to the right and searched for the source of the odor. It was then that I had locked eyes with a corpse. I know, it sounds crazy, but there was a dead fucking body riding shotgun. Its eyes bulged from their sockets. A bloated, dry tongue hung from the side of its drooping mouth. The stiff's face was pale. Pallor mortis had set in, ligature marks visible around its neck. What the fuck was a dead man doing in my truck? I screamed like a newborn and, in a panic, cut the wheel to the left, straight into a fucking Jersey barrier. The following morning, I had woken in a hospital bed. The man's face was still fresh in my mind. It was familiar, but I struggled to place a name to it. Not that it mattered. There was no way an apparition could have appeared in my truck. I must have spaced out and had some kind of stress-induced hallucination. The doctor confirmed my suspicions when she told me I had fallen asleep at the wheel. As I was being discharged, the nurse overseeing my care handed me a plastic bag containing my clothes. Turns out I really shat myself in the truck. Further proof that the corpse existed only in my mind. I'd like to sit here and tell you everything got better, but if I did that, I'd be lying. I would, instead, become obsessed with my wife's affair. Sure, we were getting a divorce, but we hadn't even filed the initial paperwork yet. For months, I drove by our home after work. There was no need to do this, but it was like staring at a car wreck. I couldn't help myself. Seeing her new man's car parked in my driveway wasn't doing any favors for my sanity. Visits with my son had been few and far between. I wanted to be with him as much as possible, but unfortunately, I was also stuck paying the mortgage and all the bills in a home I no longer lived in. Still the family's lone source of income, I had to continue working upwards of 30 hours of overtime per week. That is, until the divorce is finalized. After that, who knows what the court would decide as far as alimony. The only certainty, according to my lawyer, was that I'd be on the hook for anywhere between $1,200 to $1,400 a month in child support. For one child. I laughed when he told me that, because how the fuck was I supposed to afford a place for myself? A vasectomy seemed like an excellent idea for the future.